So I'm just going to go over our foster organizational chart, the positions that sort of impact foster in at our out here in Pima. So if I can, all right. So this is just the overview. So there are 6 positions currently that have kind of a major hand in our foster program. So we have our, and that are overseen by our shelter manager. So we have our traditional foster team where there are 3 full-time foster coordinators, our safety net foster coordinator, and I'll go over all of these a little bit more, our urgent dog case manager, and then our intake to placement manager. And so that's just sort of how it's structured. And then, so traditional foster is what you might be most familiar with. So we manage our behavior and medical fosters for adult dogs and adult cats that we separate those into 2 different categories, and then as well as all neonatals. And then the foster coordinators traditionally serve as the main point of contact. We do minor medical, vaccine appointments, returns for fosters, adoptions of foster animals, and then rotate the emergency line after hours. And then this is going to be that the foster is intending to find another home for the animal. And then, and there's 3 full-time coordinators currently, with 2 of those being grant-funded positions. Sorry, my monitors are having trouble and everything is backwards on my screen now.
Oh no, sorry.
All right, and then so our safety net foster coordinator, it's a new position. It's something that we've been doing at PACC for a little bit, where we are placing animals in foster care or holding them at the shelter with the intent of reuniting with their owner. But now we have a full-time foster coordinator dedicated to expanding and growing this program. So it could be that an owner can't keep their animals because of housing or a medical condition, where they are intending to reclaim their animals and sort of have more of a timetable for that program. So Christina is our safety net foster coordinator. She's really great. Whenever we have an animal that's coming in, she will send out this sort of down here of what the animals are that need fostering, the information that we have about them, how long we might need them to be in foster care, so that fosters have a good idea of what they're getting themselves into. And then the goal again being to reunite them with their owners. So we have a little success story over here with 2 cats that left a foster safety net foster due to housing and medical, and then they were being able to be reunited with their owners, which was really rewarding, not only for the owners, but also for the foster parent who had been a traditional foster for us in the past. We have our urgent dog case manager. So this focuses on dogs who are in extreme shelter distress. They might have special behavior concerns, whether it's home behavior or in shelter behavior, but it's something that might be a little bit more urgent or extreme cases that Rachel, who's our adult dog case manager, sorry. She is really great and can provide a little bit more attention and support for those animals after placement, whether it's in foster care or adoption. So she serves as that main point of contact. And what's really great about this is that she used to be a traditional foster coordinator here at PACC when she moved into this role. So she has her hands in that, has really good experience in the foster program. They're advertised in a couple of different ways, including just on our kennels, they have this little Good Dog Project tag, and then the code that you can scan with your phone app. So when people are walking around the kennels, they can get taken right to Rachel's program to learn more information. And then this is Big Boy, who was a terrible dog in the shelter, but is a very good dog outside of the shelter. And he recently was adopted through this program. And this is a full-time grant-funded position. We have our intake to placement manager. So this is sort of lining up placement even before animals might come into the shelter or immediately after. And It could be rescue, foster, or adoption placement, whatever might work best in each scenario. So this Cynthia, who does intake to placement, she works closely with their foster department, but is the primarily just getting animals out the building, and traditional foster coordinators will then handle the follow-up. And then from September, when we kind of started this program and it's in this stage, she sent over 500 animals since September through the end of January. This is a grant funded position and through our Friends of organization. And then we do have other departments that do closely support our foster program. We have our adoption staff. They manage our pre-adoptions primarily. We do our pre-adoptions, which was formerly our foster to adopt, is primarily medical cases. As far as behavior, a lot of the behavior support that we can provide post-placement can be provided to adopters as well. So we typically will do pre-adoptions for medical cases. And then the clinic has a lot of role in supporting our foster program. They handle all of the other medical appointments besides vaccines. They can schedule directly through, we use acuity scheduling. Behavior team, our behavior coordinator started this really cool program called Fit Camp, where dogs in foster care can come to PACC to get some behavior support training, as well as have a little bit more accessibility for adoptions, people walking around the kennels, and sort of like a doggy daycare where the fosters bring in the morning and then we'll pick up in the afternoon. And then our animal protective service, sometimes we'll have them help our fosters if there's a cat in their house that they can't get, or if a foster has become non-compliant and the safety of the animal is concerned, we will work with them on working to get those animals back. And then volunteers who, this isn't all of the volunteers that support the program, but the ones that we work with most. So we have a decompression program for our extremely fearful and under-socialized dogs. They sometimes will coordinate their own fosters and adopters outside where we can just refer interested adopters. And then we have a Top Dogs program, which really helps to provide basic training to fosters as well as adopters. If there's a foster who's saying, I really don't think I can continue fostering anymore, sometimes we'll just refer them to Top Dogs and they can really kind of support them and work so to keep the animal out of the shelter. And then some other ways that volunteers are supporting our program, we have volunteers doing vaccine appointments for our instead of foster coordinators, freeing up our time, and the volunteers love being able to help in that capacity. We have supply houses. Our county is very spread, so we have a couple houses so that if someone lives way out east, they can drive 15 minutes rather than driving an hour to come pick up supplies. We have volunteers who if we post on our Facebook, hey, can you bring supplies to this volunteer? We usually have someone respond right away that they're able to do that. We have volunteers working to support foster coordinators as far as helping with pickup appointments and also foster returns to facilitating those. And then the foster support crew of having volunteers follow up with fosters, sending them emails, just checking in to try and continue that community of support so that fosters aren't just feeling like they're kind of out there without any connection to PACC. And that's sort of the basic overview. I don't know if anyone has any questions about any of the positions specifically or anything like that.
I'm just fascinated with the whole urgent dog case manager or position. It's just really neat.
It's a really cool position.
Mm-hmm. So does she focus on like a certain number of dogs or like?
I believe that she has a number of dogs that she's working with. I think maybe 25 in shelter or supporting. I don't know that it's limiting in that capacity, but I think it's identifying whether it's long stay dogs or identifying dogs who are in early decline to get them out of the building before it could be a safety issue for humans and or the dog itself.
Right, that makes sense. Julie Lonnie had a question about if you could talk more about about Fit Camp.
Yeah, I'll try. So it's a really cool program that our behavior coordinator kind of came up with to bring animals. want to be able to support our fosters in this kind of capacity where they can come in if the dog's having reactivity issues. Our behavior team can work with them. They'll put some dogs who may need some better socialization into play group with our other dogs. And it can really help, especially with dogs who are on the brink of maybe coming back to the shelter because their fosters feel like they can't handle. It helps to create one, the foster can feel like they're being set up for success better, the relationship between PACC and the foster, the relationship between the animal and the foster. And then we've had, our behavior staff, they know that these animals are here. So they work with our adoption staff too, to say if someone comes in looking to adopt, hey, you want to go see this dog that we have, we know more information, and the dog is in the shelter that they were able to adopt that same day.
How do you pick who is qualified for these jobs? Do you just weed through, like, do they apply and you weed through the applications and pick who is best? Or I know it's volunteer, but.
So the volunteer positions or the staff positions?
The volunteer ones.
So we have people kind of apply through our volunteer program, and then with the vaccine ones, it's sort of a little self-selected. So the people who wanted to apply for the volunteer positions most of them have some sort of medical training. But I mean, like, I give vaccines and I've had no professional medical training. I'm sure a lot of us have. So we're training them, but it's been a little self-selected. And obviously it's not everything's going to be a good fit, but pretty much the people who stepped up to support us are longtime fosters who are looking for different ways to get more experience in volunteering, and they're already pretty familiar with the program. And so it's been a pretty smooth transition into that support. But it is run through our volunteer program, but also sort of adjacent where we are recruiting our own volunteers as well through our fosters.
2 questions in the chat. Julie Lonnie wants to know, do volunteers run the FID camp or staff?
Staff run with volunteer help. So there are volunteers that are involved with that program, but our staff are also can run play groups and answer questions too.
And Caroline wanted to know, is your intake to placement manager in charge of foster recruitment, or is that handled by your foster coordinators or by marketing?
So the intake to placement manager may be in the sense of, turning finders into fosters, but it is mostly foster recruitment would be through the regular foster coordinators, through also supported through our public relations staff member too. The intake to placement is more, seeing the animals that are coming in, seeing the available foster or rescue, or trying to create that placement that already exists, but also still, always being open to turning finders into fosters and that kind of thing.